G'day guys, in this video I'm going to go through a full UHF install. So what I'll be covering is the power supply options, where you can supply it from, the cable sizes required for a UHF install, be mounting the antenna, discussing mounting locations, antenna sizes, how to run the antenna back to the unit through the firewall and through the head lining of the BT-50. I'll be discussing the UHF unit I chose and why, and all the features that attracted me to it. We'll go through all the costs and weights, and I'll just show you how to mount it into the Outback equipment roof console. The radio that I've chosen is the GME XRS Connect 370, and I bought it in a pack. So this is the 370 C4P full drive pack. Comes with a 2.1 decibel heavy duty antenna. So GME are an Australian brand, and this does help, but it's not worth anything if they don't make good products, but fortunately they do. GME have a good reputation, they're reliable, and I saw this on special, so it was pretty hard to pass up. Now, just because GME make good quality UHFs, it does not mean that other companies don't. Plenty of good options out there, some are even better priced. Now, I'll happily admit that this is quite expensive, and it is more than I needed. I didn't need to go for the 370, and I definitely didn't need to get it in the four-wheel drive pack. So we'll just have a quick look at some of the other kits that are available. So on the GME website, you can see the 3 packs here for the XRS. 2 of them come with the 330, and 1 comes with the 370C. The 330 Outback pack comes with a medium duty 2.1 decibel. The touring pack comes with a 6 decibel and a bit of a lighter antenna, but still stronger than most people will ever need. So you can see there's plenty of different options there, some which probably would have been more suited to what I needed. Now the 370 and the 330, there's not a lot of difference. The 370 is slightly larger, has a bit of a different make in the outer casing. It's metallic, whereas the 330 is plastic. The 330 is smaller. The 370 comes with a speaker in the unit as well as the headpiece. If I ever change car and I move it into a different location, that extra speaker could be helpful, and it could be the difference between me hearing what is said or missing it. The 370 also comes with a magnetic clip and a magnetic bollard. 330 doesn't, but it can be upgraded to the magnetic style clips. Now, GME have plenty of good radios available. The reason I went with the XRS Connect is basically it is, at the point that I bought it, was the latest technology. So one of the best things about the XRS is that it is fully controlled by the hand unit, but it's also got Bluetooth connectivity with your smartphone. What this means obviously is that you can change settings in the app, you can do firmware updates, and GME can update the radio after it's been sold to you, and you'll be getting an improving product across the years that they keep releasing updates. On top of this, with the Bluetooth connectivity, it can connect to your phone, and it can relay GPS information, coordinates, into the app, and other people can find you where you are by your latest call points and the GPS location of where you were calling from. The speaker in the XRS is a 2-watt speaker on the handheld portion, which is more powerful than a lot of the other radios on the market. It also has a nice OLED display, which means from any angle or with polarized sunglasses, you should be able to see what is being displayed, like your channel information or volume or whatever else is relevant to you. Now, the reason I went for the 4-wheel drive pack is because you get everything included. Now, as for the unit itself, these are hideaway units, so they're made to be tucked between seats or under the dash or somewhere hidden out of the way. However, I will be installing it in a roof console, and the reason for that is basically I wanted the head unit to be up high because I wanted to run the speaker up near my left ear there, so I have as good reception as possible and I can hear what people are talking about over any music or road noise. I also like the look of the roof console, and that space is kind of wasted without the UHF there. We have a nice small unit. Now, these are hideaway units. These are not meant to be installed in visible locations. It's not really what they're made for, but I am installing it regardless in this roof console. There are no buttons on here. There's nothing to change volume or channel or anything. It is fully controlled by the handpiece. And as I said, the antenna is not a big one in terms of length. This is a lot more heavy duty than I required. I'll install it once and then I'll forget about it anyway, so I have no issues with that. Nice and short, and add to that this fold down bracket, and shouldn't have to worry about clearance issues. In here we've got some quick start guides. This is our receptacle for the handpiece. It is magnetic. 3M tape here, stick it to the side of the roof console. Here we have some radio pass-through stuff that I won't actually be using. Over here is the power cable. This is fused with a 3AG fuse. This is 2 amps. The power draw of the radio is very small. In some other GME radio instructions, they do state the reason they use 3AG fuses is because they are quick blow. It doesn't say that explicitly in the 370C instructions, but these instructions do state that if the fuse blows, to replace it with a 2 amp 3AG type only. 3AG being this style of glass fuse. So as far as I can tell, that is because this fuse is a fast blow fuse. I haven't found anything to say that standard blade fuses are not, but I feel like that's sort of implied by the fact that they want you to use this fuse. We've got an extension cable we can use to use these pass-throughs. I won't be using that. Got a mounting bracket, got some type of adapter here. (932 grams for the fold down bracket, 3.050 kilos, split tubing and non-split tubing, 1.171, 2.119 for all of my crimps, lugs, drill wall, heat shrink. Okay, so for your UHF power supply, there's a few options. So option number 1, power it off the lithium. This way, when your car is off, you can continue the radio conversations. If you pulled in before anyone else is there, you want to turn your car off but not lose comms, that is a good option. The added benefit, obviously, if you forget to turn it off, is that it won't drain your starter battery down and you'll still be able to start your car in the morning. Option 2 is off the starter battery, but fed through an ignition relay or an ignition source. Once the car turns off, the comms will drop out, but you don't run the risk of draining your starter battery. Now the third option, the one I'm going for, is direct connection to the starter battery. This means I can turn the car off and still have communications. The power draw on these radios is very small, especially when you're not transmitting, but over a long period of time it will drain your starter battery. So at the moment that's on me to remember to turn the unit off. These are really low draw. They are at their highest draw when you are transmitting, but even then it is only a 1.7 amp power draw, as you can see here. So with that in mind, the power cable that I've run from the Blue Sea Safety Hub 150 up to the roof console is only 1.13 mil squared. So the cable current carrying capacity is way more than I need. There is no volt drop dramas with a cable this size. The entire circuit from the Blue Sea Safety Hub 150 up through the roof console via the center console, where I've run a loop out just in case I want to change it to an ignition feed, is only about 6 meters, and you can see the volt drop calculations here. It's extremely low because of the low power draw. No dramas with the 1.13 mil squared cable. Alright, so the power for this is pretty simple. You just need to make up your mind about where you want to power yours from. Now the third option, which I'm going to do for now, is to wire it off the starter battery without using the ignition trigger. Now as for fusing, it has a 2 amp 3AG, the glass style fuse. Because I'm running from the starter battery and then joining into this, the cable from the starter battery out is not fused up until this point. So I will be fusing that with your standard blade fuse at a little bit higher at 5 amps. That is just protecting the cable up until this point. And this 2 amp fuse, the quick blow fuse, that is really the one that's protecting the radio components. There's not really a whole lot else to say about this. It's red and black. Red's your positive, black's your negative. The other end is just a plug that plugs into the back of the unit. Now I have already run in a cable for this when I was doing my reverse camera, and that is just because I only wanted to pull through the firewall once. So over here we have the reverse camera with the fuse in it. This next one here is my UHF positive. The UHF negative is just coming to this negative buzz bar. So those power cables come through the firewall. My roof console is down at the moment, but these two cables here, even though they're both red, one is actually my UHF positive and the other is my negative. They run across here, down this pillar, then the negative shoots straight out to that buzz bar. The active loops here. This is my active. Now the reason I've looped it here is because I have an ignition powered relay here. So in the future, if I want the radio to turn off when the car is off, all I need to do is chop this and have this relay feed another ignition relay and then I can have my UHF turning off when the car is off. At the moment I've just looped it here for future use because I have all the trim off, but it is not switched with the ignition. This is just a loop. So all I need to do once the radio is installed in the console is hook up my red and my negative, which I will heat shrink black, and that is basically it, and then I'll lift the radio up. That's the power side of it done. Probably didn't need the antenna that I got, probably could have paired it with a more medium duty antenna, but it is future proofing at the same time. I only have to install it once and then I just forget about it. Now when it comes to antennas, they are all different, and you'll see they're advertised with a dBi gain. So without going into it too much, the higher the dBi gain, the further the throw of that antenna, but the less reliable it is in hilly terrain because it does not spread that throw very wide. To best illustrate this, we'll just look at a few images. So I'm just on the GME website, but there's plenty of good info out there regarding this issue. But here's basically what I was talking about. So your 3 decibel antenna is more bulbous in shape, and in hilly terrain you have a better chance of receiving and transmitting successfully. The 6 dBi, which is the next one GME offers, is a longer throw but a thinner throw, so really good in WA especially when you're travelling on long open roads. The 3 dBi probably better in sand dunes, 6 dBi for long open roads and flat areas. Now just note that you can change the whips out, so you can actually change these. You're not stuck with whatever you install, depending on what you buy. Obviously, I can't speak for every company, but if you buy something that has an interchangeable whip, you can change these. And then you have your really long range 9 dBi. You won't see these very often. Most of the time you'll see people with a 6 dBi on the bull bar. On the eastern states, probably 3 dBi is more common in hilly areas. Less common in WA, I suppose, but I've seen tests from Ronnie Dahl where he had a 3 dBi or thereabouts mounted on a roof and he got really good range. Now you can see the 2.1 is kind of a bulbous shape. It will give you really good coverage but over a lesser distance. But to counteract this, I'm going for a rooftop mount. Now where I am mounting it, I have plenty of leeway and there's plenty of space behind the antenna when it's folded down. So I can always upgrade it to a larger antenna if I ever need to. But for now, nice short antenna gives me less clearance issues if I forget to fold it down. Now with antenna selection, you don't have to pair a GME XRS Connect 370 with a GME antenna. You can mix and match these components. In the future, if this 2.1 decibel does not quite work, what I'm looking at is probably an RFI. They do a 3 and a 5 decibel. I would actually keep that as a ceiling mount. I wouldn't change to the bull bar mount. The problem with the bull bar mount is that you have the car in between yourself and anyone behind you. It can block transmissions. As long as I have that roof space available, I would choose to use a roof mount antenna over a bull bar mount. The bull bar space, I can save that. I can use that for a cell booster, or I can use it for an FM, AM radio extender, something like that. But as far as UHF goes, roof of the canopy, it's unused and it gives me the best possible communications. The antenna will run down here into this grommet through the firewall. Through that grommet, it will go underneath all of this trim. Then it will go up the A-pillar and across to here, where the radio unit will be installed once the roof console goes on. So this is the front bar of the canopy near the solar panel, left hand side. This is where I'm going to mount the antenna on a fold down bracket. I will put it all in and then run the antenna cable out, and we'll see if it's long enough. Hopefully it is, because this is right at the front. We shouldn't have any dramas, but we'll just wait and see. The Rhino rack comes with a lot of different mounting options for different style of roof bars. This is what you consider heavy duty roof bar or extrusion. So we've got 2 M6 channel nuts we can use here with some M6 by 20s and just a bit of Loctite to stop anything vibrating loose. On the base here you have a multitude of different things you can do. You could even do one M8 channel nut with a mudguard washer right in the middle. You don't have to use these M6s if you don't want. You can orientate it whichever way you want, so you can fold it left or right or back or forward depending on your setup. For me, it's going to fold backwards into this vacant space here. So with the GME antenna, this is just a protective cover that you want to unwind off. obviously with the cable not hooked in. So we take that cover off. You have a nut with a spring washer here. This will slide in here, and then you do up the nut and spring washer. So I will be installing it in the folded down position. I'm just running out the cable before I go too far with the non-split conduit and making it waterproof and protected. Just got to make sure it's long enough. It is very close, so I don't think I can go the way I was going to up the A pillar. I think I'm going to have to come through the firewall, try to come straight up the back and across the roof lining, because I don't think I have enough length to do what I wanted to do, which is weird because it's right at the front of the canopy, and this is an extra cab, not a dual cab, so the cab is shorter than normal. I would have thought it would be long enough to come in up the A pillar and across to the middle, but this isn't really designed to go in a centre roof console. It's more designed to go behind seats and stuff like that. So the cable might not be as long as some of the other types of radios where you need the interface. If it would reach, it would literally only just reach, and I wouldn't be able to connect it with the roof console down low and then lift it up. I'd have to sort of lift it and connect it at the same time, so it'd be a little bit awkward. So because the cable is a bit short, once I come through this firewall, I'm going to go straight up the back here. Now I've run this snake through. This panel just pulls out, but you need to remove the seatbelt, which is a T50 Torx bit. Remove the seatbelt from there, and then you can just pull this panel out. Because I had the roof console off, I ran a snake through here to here, I looped that, then from here I angled it to this corner. And then I just wanted to make sure I could get across there before I started running the actual antenna cable. I gained about a metre and a half worth of cable by taking this direct route. So now I'm just going to run this cable through non-split tubing. You see the glue that comes out of the end of the dual wall heat shrink, and I've just had to use a smaller bit to step it down onto the cable. This is non-split tubing, so it's sealed all the way up. And then I've done the same thing at the other end. So I'm just going to cut a length of 7mm split to protect it as I pull it through the roof lining and as it sits there for the future. So now we've got split tubing protecting the antenna cable all the way up across the roof and out to here. So protected the whole way. Cable through the firewall, and then non-split tubing up with dual wall heat shrink. That has given us an extra metre and a half of length. Now I'll be able to connect it to the roof console down here and lift the roof console up. Now when you order the Outback Equipment roof console, hopefully you ordered the insert for the radios. This one is for the GMEs, so that is a very tight fit, which is good. It'll stop it vibrating too much. But what we have on the back side is a gap underneath, and what that means is that that can wobble around. When you buy the roof console, it comes with these foam strips. There are 3 of them. These are sticky back. So the number of these that you use, these are stackable, depends on the size of your radio. For this particular GME radio, we will be using all 3. So what we want to do is measure to the back of the radio. So that is 97mm from this lip to the back of the radio. Then we're going to come in 25mm. In this tray here, we're going to cut out a rectangle. So we'll have these sticking through this cutout, 25mm in from the back of the radio. These are roughly 30mm by 100mm. So we want to cut out a shape here of 30 by 100 or 35 by 105. What I'm actually going to do is just take off 16mm, make that the outer edge. I'm not going to take off 25. Reason being is it should hopefully cover the speaker a little bit less. So I'll be going from 80 to 50mm. Now I'm just going to cut this out with a Stanley knife. So that is basically it. Now we can peel these apart, stick them to each other, cleaning this surface with a wipe down alcohol and cleaning whichever side of the radio you choose to stick down. It does not technically have a top and bottom, but if you want the writing to be the right way up, then it will be the speaker towards the bottom, which is the way I'm going to do it. So the handpiece connection is closer to the driver. Before I go and stick it all together, I just want to see what it looks like. So there we have the install. The packers are in the cutout, which will stop them from moving forwards and back, although they should be sticky backed anyway. Then we have 3 packers to make the radio sit nice and parallel. Now there is still a protective covering on that radio, which I will peel off when I do the final install. And it is kind of up to you how far you want it to protrude. I think I will leave it maybe 1 or 2 mil protrusion instead of going flush. So I will just be cleaning with isopropyl alcohol in here, and then the side of the radio which will be sticking to it. The isopropyl alcohol will dry basically straight away. Press down and let it set, and then we'll be able to install the roof console. So all we have to do now is hook up our power connection into the back of the radio, and we just connect to our positive and negative. Leave as much length as you want to be able to drop this roof console in the future. Hook up our antenna cable, and then everything can go back together. All of this coiled in the roof, we can't cut the antenna cable. So the power is connected. Now we have this little adapter here. This needs to go in the antenna socket part. Our antenna cable connects into the back of that. Now the back of the 370 does require that PL259 adapter with the bend in the antenna cable that's needed after that. At the back here, it's not a lot of clearance. I would recommend having maybe 2 to 5 mil protrusion out the front here instead of having it flush mount. Now the last thing to do, in the pack we have our bollard. The 370, it is magnetic. Now you have the option of screwing it or sticky backing it. I am going to sticky back it because it's removable and changeable at a later date. Before we do that, we want to put the handpiece in. Now with the roof console, you would have got something like this with 2 screws. All this bit is for is just to sort of guide the cable. So I think I'm going to go something quite similar to that sort of setup, so I can still access this storage compartment. Having it like that would be easy to see. You can see the channel and everything, and the sound will be more centralised, but the cable could get in the way of your storage compartment. I'm just going to play around with it, and then I'll show you what it looks like once I've decided. Basically what I've gone for is just a setup like this. It's not too much tension on it or anything, but I didn't want to put it too far back because my driving position is actually a little bit forward of where the seat is at the moment. Nice and easy to grab, nice and easy to put back. I've got a 5 amp fuse at the Bluetooth Safety Hub 150, and then in here obviously is our 2 amp fuse, which hopefully never blows because that is a pain to take off. Now to test it, power on, and we'll just have a quick scan. Oh. So it works, and we'll turn it off. Personally, I'm actually going to have this disconnected. I'm not going to drive around like that day today. I'll just leave the handpiece somewhere else, and when I need it, I will take the handpiece with me. Makes it less tempting for anyone to try and break in and steal it. Now overall, the XRS 370 4-wheel drive pack added 2.175. The bracket was 0.749 kilos. Split tubing 61 grams, so not a lot of weight here. Dual heat shrink 9 grams. And just a few other things I removed from the car, so the total weight added is 2.981 kilograms. Alright guys, that's it for the GME XRS Connect 370 into the Outback equipment roof console. Even though the unit is a hideaway unit, it fits that insert really well. I'm happy with the handpiece arrangement at the moment, but it's a shame that Outback equipment don't offer a different microphone holder. Instead of being screw-in, something that was sticky back would allow us to change the configuration later on without having holes in the roof console. So up here is just a price list, a few of the other components that we went through. Most of it's already been covered in previous videos, so the price list is pretty basic and is limited to what we've actually installed. Hopefully that's been of some help for you, and let's jump to the end screen now with the build costs and weights. I got installing a GME. We'll be installing a GME. I'm going to go through a GME. Oh fuck me! What is GME? We have our payer. Then this is just behind the glove box. tiny little bit. Australian bent. This way, once that I want to change it to an ignition fed radiator. This bit for